So what actually changes when you heal your emotional eating beyond just food and your body? It's not just about stopping binging or eating normally. It's really about having more ease, peace, inner confidence, and the sense of sovereignty and freedom. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. So let's dive in. So maybe you resonate with this. You see someone eating food and it looks so normal to them. They can have some pasta, they can have a piece of chocolate, and they can not eat the whole thing. They can just let it sit there. I remember when I was struggling with emotional eating, I would look to these women and I was like, I just want that. I just want to feel that ease and peace around food in my body, not eat all the food and not go and hunt for it. I just wanted to feel okay and that food wasn't controlling me. What I eventually got to as I resolved my emotional eating was to that place where I wasn't obsessed with food. I wasn't constantly thinking about food. I wasn't micromanaging food. There was no urgency. I could naturally stop eating. And I see this with my clients as well. What I also noticed around my body was that there was less criticism. There was more acceptance. I felt more connection with my body. I felt more energized in my body. I could kind of settle into my body. And I also noticed that there was a space where, there was before there would be this constant chatter around food and food noise. And now it was more peaceful. There was like actual space to put other thoughts in, to think about other things, to move forward with other goals. So what happened in my own life was that I had more energy for my goals. I could actually move forward. I was more present and not feeling like, oh, I have to get the food or I have to eat the food. I could be more present. I could eat slowly. I could have a conversation. And I wasn't hiding. I wasn't feeling shame. I could go out and eat and feel okay. It was just like food was no longer this thing that dictated my life. Of course we have to think about food. We have to eat meals, but it wasn't like this constant obsession and micromanaging and problem to solve. So when you're no longer managing food, you actually start living your life. You're present. And, the same thing that I wanted, that ease and peace around food, that's what my clients want as well. But it's even more than that, because when you're obsessed about food, when you're constantly micromanaging, when you're constantly negotiating, second guessing yourself, trying to figure out, spiraling into overeating, feeling shame, there's no space to actually be. There's no space to move forward, to go after your goals, to live your life, to be that role model to your kids. There's all of that space, mental space, is taken up by you trying to manage food. What I see with clients as they move through this process, as they start resolving their emotional eating, is that is what we are looking for. We're looking for, there's space in my week. I feel calmer. I'm actually feeling like okay around food. I don't notice the noise anymore. And eventually that becomes something you move forward with. So I want to share a few client examples of what this looks like. I've had clients come in to the emotional eating evolution program and they just want to be okay around food. They don't want to keep living this way because it's harming their body, their health, the way they feel about themselves. So I had a client, Kelly, come into the program and she was binging daily. And that meant that she was feeling awful every single day. And she was also in therapy at the same time, and it wasn't helping her resolve her emotional eating. And so it's not only that emotional eating makes you feel shame because you feel out of control with food, you also physically, it impacts your body. You can gain weight. It's like you're stuffing yourself. You're not digesting well. You don't feel good. And then you're constantly feeling like you're in this power struggle with food. And so when Kelly came in, she was binging daily. So we started to resolve her pattern with emotional eating, and it's through the framework inside of the emotional eating evolution program. I guide my clients through it. So we're looking at each layer of what's happening. Within the first few weeks, Kelly stopped binging daily. She was starting to have a more calm relationship with food. And when her emotional eating would get triggered, we went deeper. One of the times she usually gets triggered a lot more is around the holidays. And so we really started working on that. Usually she would feel shame about her body because a lot of family members would make comments. But this time she had the tools and the process to work with those emotions and how she was feeling, to have boundaries and to feel at ease around food, to not go to food, because she knew that whenever anyone commented about her body, that would spiral her into emotional eating. And of course, at holiday get-togethers, there's so much food available. And so we worked with that she moved through the holiday without spiraling, without emotionally eating, with dealing with the deeper root. And that's really powerful. And then that just snowballs. And after she became so motivated to take care of herself, she had more boundaries at work. She was feeling like, yes, this is working, after trying other things in the past to help her with her emotional eating. And so you gain back your sense of confidence. Yes, you become more sovereign around food, but you're dealing with the deeper root. So you're building that confidence in an embodied way. I also had a client, Miranda, who when she first started working with me, she would have binges at night. She would wake up and she'd go and eat like a cookie and have, candy and all of these different things. And we started to work on her pattern. The interesting thing about Miranda was that she also had a somatic therapist. And so just because some of the things that I share around the emotional eating evolution program, which are somatic meditations with psychotherapy tools, they might seem similar to other modalities, this is really specific to emotional eating. And just because you're doing the correct modality, it doesn't mean it's targeted to your specific pattern. So Miranda knew that because she was still struggling with emotional eating, even doing this other work. And so we started to work through the emotional eating evolution program framework, starting off with looking at how she was nourishing herself, looking at when she was triggered into emotional eating, her different triggers, and then doing the deeper work to look at, a lot of the times at night she was being triggered into this emotional eating pattern. As Miranda worked through the program, that binging lessened and stopped by the end of the program. She also started to feel more self-worth, more confidence. She had recently gone through a breakup and the program supported her because usually when we are going through these big emotional things, they trigger emotional eating. She was able to not go into emotional eating spirals. She was able to meet those deeper needs that were coming up. And by the end of the program, it really transformed her life. She felt she finally had ease and peace. She was always running around. She was always stressed. And, I speak to Miranda periodically after the program, after a year, 2 years, and she is still not binging and emotionally eating. She's not having that food noise. She knows how to nourish her body. And if her emotional eating trigger did come up, she has resources in the program to go to. For Miranda, we got to that deeper core root and shifted it for her so that she resolved that pattern and she was able to not be triggered into that same pattern again. I have another client, Nilda, that when she came into the emotional eating evolution program, she had actually tried other emotional eating programs, and she was in trauma therapy, and her emotional eating was still there. And so I do help clients with trauma connected to emotional eating. And of course, if she went through an emotional eating program, I don't know what the details of it, but it was obviously focused on helping her resolve her pattern. So there were some key things missing for her that weren't in these other resources. And so we worked through the framework, again, looking at how she was nourishing her body acceptance and emotional wellness, and looking at when she was triggered. And so Nilda was really, really holding on tightly to this morning breakfast that was sort of her anchor, her comfort food. We started to work with that. She was also someone who never thought she could eat fruits and vegetables. She was like, I can't give up burgers and fries, and that's not what the program's about. And for Nilda, as she moved through the program, she was also someone that she was isolating herself. She wasn't able to socialize. And so As we moved through the program, her relationship to food started to shift. She started to be able to incorporate different foods and started to experiment in the morning with different foods and way of eating to support her body throughout the day. She started to notice she was craving fruits and vegetables as we did the deeper work on her emotional eating. She noticed, because partway through the program, she went on vacation with her partner, and usually she would just stay in the room. I think it was a business trip for him, but she felt confident enough to go and socialize on her own, which was a first in her life. And Nilda was in her 50s. And so these are the things that happen when you start resolving your emotional eating. Yes, you start feeling ease and peace around food, but you start living your life. You start doing things, showing up for yourself in ways that you didn't think that you weren't able to before. And so emotional eating is tied into these patterns, but it doesn't mean we go resolving these separate things. We look at your relationship to food, where you're triggered, where you're getting triggered into your emotional eating, to go deeper, to use this as the gateway so that you can't get that ease and peace around food and in your body, but it goes beyond into your life as well. And so this is what happens when you resolve your emotional eating at the root versus just managing symptoms. Managing symptoms means that yes, in a moment you have an urge, maybe you can distract yourself, maybe you can put it off for a while, but your emotional eating still happens. For me personally, it's been over 10 years since I've emotionally eaten, and it's not that I am managing my emotional eating. I cannot emotionally eat because I know how to meet my deeper needs. I know how to nourish my body. I know how to connect to my body. And that's where we want to get to, not just managing symptoms. We want to heal the root. So if you're ready for this level of change, you want to actually shift and transform your pattern with food. So this is the work we do inside of the Emotional Eating Evolution program. And if you'd like this support, I would love to invite you to find out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution program. This is my 12-week container. Inside of the program, there's a step-by-step process. There are one-to-one sessions with me to help guide you to see your pattern, to go deeper into your triggers, to get to the root. There's support, there's guidance, and through this process, you get to ease and peace and confidence around food and in your body. And if this is something that you would like to explore, the first step is to book in an emotional eating clarity call with me. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe. I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.